In Zandspruit, residents and activists are saying teaching and learning in the area has become almost impossible. This is due to ongoing power cuts in that area. Residents say they've been without power and water for several weeks now. We're talking about some 31,000 people living in Zandspruit, if not more. Newzroom Afrika's Tumaole Mohlaoli is there. It joins us now from outside a primary school that, like many other public services, is struggling to keep the lights on. Tumaole?
Struggling to keep the lights on, Aaron, and struggling to ensure that teachers are heard by their learners. This is because this primary school behind me relies heavily on the use of generators. It is using those little generators that use diesel just to keep the lights on so that the teachers can do their admin work and that teaching and learning can go ahead. But this is becoming very disruptive because that little generator, as small as it might look, really generates something of an unbearable droning sound, something that can be quite irritating and something that can be quite distracting. And this is why the residents are saying that teaching and learning is becoming almost impossible. Earlier I spoke to one teacher who asked not to be identified, who said that they really can't undertake their duty and they can't give a decent service. And many teachers are said to be starting to abscond from coming to school, and many of those children that they are meant to teach are simply then being turned back home because the school does not have capacity and the teachers don't have capacity to take on more classes than they already are taking on at the moment. There's also an issue of discrepancies when it comes to the registration processes. Many residents here are saying that those students from within the community here are being sidelined in exchange for students from elsewhere. Now, elsewhere is a question that is burning on my mind, certainly, as where exactly these other learners are coming from that are being prioritized and why. But let us hear this from Richard Mazwi. He's one of the concerned residents and a community leader here in the community of Zandspruit. Masakane Tswelopele Primary School, why is it a problem, Dad?
Because generator very area sound focus generator sound you can't focus sound and problem where mo sanjoro go bele electricity ntse go pela mmuso at least o re assist ka gore re kry box ye le re ka gona re tlisa electricity mo Zandspruit because ntse go le re lela electricity aba ka tlisa fela electricity and then ba tla ba berekile re tla gona o at least ba install di aircon because ga le tšatši le fisha bana ba le go a fisha ka mala ba tshwara ke boroga ba sa gona go concentrate go ba boima kudu ge morutana se a go fisha and then matisha le ona ba ruta bohloko ka taba ya gore sound ya generator ela e tloga ile godimo ka kudu.
And then Katabaya hore governmental generator. Councillor Ering, what's your local government official saying?
Re buile le councillor wa re tile so re bone re at least re bitse media to gona re thusa and then without the media gore a gona more yang giving it has been 7 years no really tile gore re ka kra thuso ya re thole electricity part a go etsa ga le selo that's why re tsere tsina gore re latele media and then o gona re thusa.
How sa thusa o tla etsa la
our secretary so that means re bitse ba bagolo and then by education ba tle mo re re khone ba bontsha situation e gore e byang because bana ba rena a ba khone ithuta ka taba ya noise ya generator.
All right, thank you very much, Ntate. That's Richard Mazwi. He's just basically summing up the issue here, Aaron, saying that, of course, the issue of the generator is one of the issues, the noise that the generator, the little generator that has been set up by the residents here is making teaching and learning almost an impossibility. He says that one of the other issues that is affecting the learners is that they don't have adequate air conditioning. With the mercury being at the levels we've seen over the last couple of weeks, it's very difficult for learners to concentrate and not fall asleep because they're just overheating in their small classrooms. So the issue of air conditioning is also a key issue. They are saying that, Richard said, they're saying that they are calling on the local government structure. That would be the city of Joburg in terms of the immediate structure and local governance here in this area that oversees service delivery issues. But apart from that, they're also calling on provincial and national government structures to intervene because they say the status quo simply cannot go ahead. You have a clinic that is not functioning because of a lack of electricity, because people are being turned away, and of course you have very key medicines that need to be kept under cool conditions in fridges, including insulin and other medications that are simply just going off, or rather are not being accepted by the clinic, and people are being told to go to other healthcare facilities, which then has a knock-on effect in terms of the pressure on the service delivery there on those clinics, both on the staff and on the resources. It's not something that's planned for when people are redirected off the cuff, and it's not something that is being scheduled at the local governance levels. So you can see how this issue of the power crisis has really affected everything in communities, including teaching and learning, as well as provision of basic services. Erin?
Throughout your reporting today from Zandspruit, there's a very clear sense of people in the lurch, you could say, whether it's lack of access to a clinic or insufficient power in order to ensure that children get basic education day on day, and the kind of absence of proper governance. You know, you've mentioned there that people are looking to local, provincial and national government. I guess these are the kinds of issues that should be on the agenda of the President going into SONA.
Absolutely. This should be high on the agenda of the President going into SONA. And people will be watching with bated breath to see if the SONA will reflect what is happening at the grassroots level. Of course, the SONA also gives a direction and directives in terms of government priorities, in terms of how the budgets from Treasury will be allocated. The priorities over the last couple of years certainly have been local government and service delivery, but also we've had very, quite heavy spending in terms of the rolling out of other additional service delivery projects, including trying to make sure that the state-owned entities that are tasked with rolling out services, particularly ESCOM, has been of great concern in terms of the monies and the bailouts it has received and the priorities it has received in terms of the previous State of the Nation addresses. So people here will be watching that very closely to see what is the lasting solution for the ailing power utility, because the ailing power utility is meant to be rolling out the services, including the electricity, which has seen the service delivery affected both at the clinic and at the primary school behind me. So we certainly will watch with bated breath with the residents and to see exactly what the President has to say when it comes to local governance, the grassroots, in terms of the first line of defense or the first line of call when residents do have any grievances, and what the State of the Nation will say about how these issues will be resolved.
Tumaole Mohlaoli there in Zandspruit. Awkward to say it, but some people might not be able to watch SONA if there's load shedding and their TVs can't get plugged in. But if yours is, do make sure you're tuned to Newzroom Afrika channel 405. I suppose there's always a radio with some batteries if